Google Data Studio can be a great tool to get the performance of your marketing campaigns out of the platforms themselves and into a more customizable report builder. Sometimes you just need a view of the performance data that isn't available in the platforms, and you can customize that in Data Studio. Other times, you need to share the performance data with somebody who's not quite savvy enough to get it out of the platforms themselves. Data Studio can help with that too. While there are far too many customizations for us to go through all of the available tools in Google Data Studio, we do think it's important to at least give you a high-level overview of some of the things that you can do. So in this video, we're going to create a first dashboard for Google Ads performance and show you some of the customizations you can make in Data Studio to get the data to show you exactly what you need. To build our first Data Studio dashboard, I'm in Google Data Studio, which if you type in datastudio.google.com will take you to a page that looks like this. This is effectively the same as navigating to a Google Drive account where you can see all the different files that you have available. Down here at the bottom, you'll see all of the different reports that we have in the account, which I'm sorry, the names are blurred out, but you don't need to see what those are. And then off to the left, there's a bit of navigation where you can see that we are selected for the recent reports that we've used, but then there are also options for the reports that are shared with me, as well as owned by me, so you can navigate to those pretty easily. And then in the middle here is where we can start to create reports. If you are a whiz with Google Data Studio, you could start off by using a blank report, but my guess is that if you're watching this video, you're probably not a whiz and you can't build something from scratch just yet in Google Data Studio. So instead, we're going to start with a template. And if I come over here, we can find the template gallery and open this up. And here you can start to see the different templates that Google has provided for Data Studio reports. They've got them broken down by sections, whether it's Google Analytics, BigQuery, Google Sheets. You can also filter by different categories, and they're going to be pretty similar to what I just alluded to. So for now, I'm just going to click on Google Ads because that's what we want to start with. And now we have just this one line item available. And we can choose this drop down here to where we can expand it and see all of the different templates available for Google Ads. There's a ton, whether it's for geographic performance, account health, local campaigns, display campaigns, shopping, lots of different types of reports that you can use. But for today, just to get started off with a basic report, we're going to use this Google Ads overview template. So if I click on this, it'll then open up a preview of what it would look like if you chose this report. None of this data is real. You can see down here that there are different campaign names for Google Analytics demo account, all sorts of different things here. This is not an actual account that we run, but Google is trying to show you what types of information are going to be in this report. So here we have click-through rate and impressions, conversion rate and cost, cost per click, and then we have a number of different line charts for clicks and CTR, conversions and conversion rate, cost average CPC, and then down here we've also got a breakdown of different campaigns and some metrics as well as device breakdown. So I already knew I was going to use this report for this video, but if you didn't like any portion of this, you could either go back to the template gallery and start to find a new one, or maybe if you like the visuals of it, we can look to tweak the different performance metrics in here to make the report just a little bit more useful for you. And I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. But since I know we're going to start with this one, I'm going to come up here and click Use Template. Now we need to tell Google which ads account we want to use the data from. If you come down here, you'll see that this is going to be copy this report, meaning that it's going to create this report in your account so that it would show up on that home page that we started on. Right now, the original source is the sample Google Ads information from Google. So to choose the account that you want to use, you, 1, need to be logged into it, and then 2, need to come over here, click this drop down, choose the type of account you want to use. So I'm going to click Google Ads, and then you need to click Copy Report. Now we effectively have a blank version of the report that we saw earlier. And if you're familiar with how any of the other file types on Google Drive work, you'll notice that a lot of things are relatively similar. The first thing we can do is give this report a name just by hovering over here. You can see that I'm now in the text field and I could change the name to whatever I want. For right now, I'm not going to do that. But then there are lots of other pieces down here for you to customize the report itself, whether you want to add a page, add data, add a chart, lots of different pieces. But again, for simplicity within this video, I'm just going to go over the pieces that are already in the account. So to do that, the first thing I need to do is choose the account that this report is going to pull data from. As I mentioned earlier, when we created a copy of the report, you need to be logged into the account that you want to use. And then in this section right here, it's a little bit difficult to see, you can click on this drop down to choose the ad account that you want information from. I'm sorry all this is blurred out, but you don't need to see any of the names here. And unlike most of our videos, I'm actually going to use a live account for this report. That way there's actual data in here to look at. So now you can see there's actual performance information in here, which is going to make it a lot easier for us to know whether or not we have finalized the view that we would like to see. Part of the reason that I chose this report for this video is that there are a few different types of components within this report that I want to show you how they work, how you can customize them slightly, that will then unlock a lot of other reports for you to be able to use within Google Data Studio. The first thing that I love about this report is that it allows you to choose whatever custom date range you want. So we don't have to do anything different here, but you can see that when you choose this, you can then adjust whatever date range you want to look at, which means that at any point you can look at different data for this account to see what the performance trends are. But you can also customize the default date range. So anytime you open up this report and it shows you a default set of data, it's always going to default to the date range that you've chosen. Right now, over in the right, you can see that that is going to be the last 28 days, excluding today. But if you click this drop down, it moves the calendar over here so you can start to choose what you want the default date range to be. There's a new drop down down here to where you can choose different ranges. So last 28 days, last 7 days, last 30 days. You can also do a fixed range if for some reason you always want it to show you January from 2022. You could do that. For right now, I'm going to shift it back to last 30 days because that feels a little bit more common, and then click apply. Now, anytime I come into this report, it's always going to show me the last 30 days worth of performance, which is effectively a month, so you can see the different trends within the account. So that's the first piece that you can customize for this report. The next is going to be these different text fields. So if I hover over this and I click on it, you can see that this is basically just a text field that is telling the user this section is going to be about cost per click by cost, CPC, and CPM. Since it's just a text field, there's nothing dynamic. You get this entire text properties section over here that you can start to customize. You can choose whether you want it to be bold, italicized, underlined, which alignment you want, if you want there to be a link included, as well as some of the different formatting and the different spacing and whatnot that's in here. If you wanted to change what the text said, you could easily just double click, highlight what you want to change, and then just type it in, and you're done. It's a very simple text field. The next type of component is going to be one of these little boxes down here, and they show you individual metrics that you can utilize to have just one individual stat within a box. It'll also show you the trending stats that are in here. One thing you'll notice off to the right is that one of these metrics, average CPM, also says that it is deprecated. This is not a stat that Google really wants to use that much anymore. So I'm going to customize this one just to have something more useful in here. So if I click on this field, you'll now show that there are a few changes off to the right. First is that the chart type is a scorecard. So if this is a type of metric that you want to see or a type of visual that you want to add to a report, all you need to do is come over here to add a chart. And then you'll come down here to Scorecard, and these are the two types of scorecards that are available. So if you're ever curious what type of report or what type of metric or chart something is, all you need to do is click on the component itself, and then Google will tell you up here what type it is, so you can go create a new one. Next is going to be the data source, which for this report is only going to be Google Ads. If at any point you want to add multiple different channels to the same report, you'll do that in here, but I'm keeping this simple, so we're going to move on to metric. And you'll see here that this metric is the one that has chosen average CPM, because that's the actual metric that is in that field. So to change that, you just need to click on this. And now you'll notice that there is an entire section of metrics or components that we can add in here to customize the report however we want. So let's just say that I want to skip past most of those. There's obviously average CPM that is deprecated, but there is an updated average CPM in here as well. So rather than using the deprecated version, if I wanted to customize it, use the new one, all I have to do is click on that. And now it updates. If you wanted me to tell you what the difference between those two were, I couldn't do it. The number's the same, everything looks the same. This one just doesn't say deprecated next to it. But if you wanted the metric to be something different, let's say impression share. I could click on this and type in impression share. I'll come down here to just impression share instead of display impression share. There's no display campaigns running in this account. Once I clicked on that option, it now shows that I have 10% impression share effectively. But here you can see that that number isn't really the best way to look at it. So now we're going to customize the formatting of this metric. To do that, you can come in here and click this AUT, which stands for auto, but there's going to be a pencil when you hover over it. So I'll click on that. And now we have a few different options. First, you can give it a different name. So right now it just says impr.share. So for whatever reason I wanted to change that, I could just type in a new name. All I did was change the formatting, but you'll see that it does show you the original source field down below. The aggregation is auto, meaning that it is going to just pull in all of the aggregated impression share metrics from all the campaigns. But then down here, I can customize what the number looks like, because right now it is just a number, which is why it is 0.1 for 10%. But if I click on this, I can now decide between a number or a currency, if I wanted to have a different dollar amount in there. But for the number one, right now I'm chosen on number, but I want to change it to percent. So now that I've done that, I'll just click out. And now you can see that my impression share is now 9.99% instead of 0.1. Overall, these metrics are very easy to customize in these little scorecards. You just need to choose what metric you want, and then you can customize it to your heart's content by changing the name, the formatting, whatever you want in there. The last thing I'm going to do, now that you'll see here, is that the average impression share has gone down by 32%, almost 33%. But the formatting of that is still selected for CPM, which when it goes down is a good thing, because things have gotten less expensive. But for impression share, that just means that you've lost impression share. So it's actually a bad thing, and I would rather have it be red like this one is for cost. So if I click on this metric again, to change those numbers, I actually need to go into Style. Here I can decide if I want the decimal point to have either 2 points, 0 points, 1 point. I'll just switch it to 0, that way it just shows 10%. But now you can see the comparison metric, and you'll see here that if something goes up, it's red, if it goes down, it's green. So all I need to do is change that to have this one be green, and then reverse the down arrow to be red. And now it'll show the different colors that I want, so if something goes up, it's green, down, it's bad. If for whatever reason you decided that you wanted to show the absolute number of percentage points things went up and down as opposed to the percentage in change, you can check this box here, which changes it to 4.85%. What that means is that over the last 30 days, our impression share was at 10%. It used to be 14.85%, but it has dropped by 4.85. Absolute change means the amount that it did change, whereas if you uncheck this box, that's going to mean the percentage that you lost on your performance overall. Again, these scorecards are pretty simple, but it is a very easy way to see the numbers at a high level very quickly within the report. The next piece I want to adjust are going to be around these line charts, and I'm going to change the one right here in the middle. So again, I just click on it. You can see by the naming convention up here that this is a chart and it's a time series. And right now I'm selected on the style of the report. So again, I could change the line color if I wanted to, or I can do any other metric. But for right now, I just want to focus on the data itself. For this piece, you can change the dimension. So right now this is performance by day. But if you have maybe your default date range being to the last 365 days, that might not be the most useful. So your dimension, you might want to click on this and choose maybe you want it to be by a month or a quarter or a week. If I choose week, you can now see that there are only 4 or 5 points on that line chart because there's only 4 or 5 weeks within a given date range that is 30 days. For right now, I'm going to switch this back to day, but you can adjust the x-axis by choosing the dimension that you want to have within your report. Similar to how we adjusted the metrics for the scorecards up top, I can change the metrics that I have down here below. And right now, I don't really want this to have conversion rate in it. I would rather it have cost per conversion trending instead of conversion rate. So all I need to do is come over here, click this metric, search for cost per conversion, choose the metric that I want, and now the report has updated to show the cost per conversion compared to conversions rather than the conversion rate. If for whatever reason I wanted to add a metric, maybe I say I want to bring conversion rate back in, I can just come down here and click this section, type in conversion rate, add it back to the table, and now I can have 3 lines, but now because I have a third line, and one of them is percentage and the other one is in the hundreds of dollars, these don't really blend well on the same chart. There are some customizations you could try and make. One of the most common attempts I have is to switch which axis each metric is on. So to do that, we still need to be selected on the chart that we have, which we are. Instead of doing anything on the Data tab, we need to shift over to the Style tab. Here you can see the Series 1. It then asks if you want it to be lines or bars. You get to choose the color. But then the last piece is that it chooses the axis for you, whether you want it to be the left one or the right one. So right now, Series 1 is going to be conversions, Series 2 is cost per conversion, and Series 3 is conversion rate. So let's say I really want to try and get all of these 3 metrics in the same chart. I could align the metrics that are going to make the most sense together, which is going to be conversion and cost per conversion on the left axis, and then try and shift Series 3 to the right axis, and that gives us a table that looks like this. it still doesn't make any sense. You still can't really see all of the metrics together. So my result here is that it doesn't make sense for all of these metrics to be in the same line chart. So instead, I'm going to shift back over to data table, and I'm just going to X out of conversion rate. Since I changed the axis that those metrics are going to be on, I need to then reverse it back to where it was and put the cost per conversion back on the right axis. And now everything's back to where it was. So although I didn't really change much other than the metric itself, now you know how to decide which lines are which color, which ones go on which axis, and how you can add and remove metrics to your heart's content. Now let's come down here to these bottom two charts. The first thing you'll notice over here on the left is that we have a top campaign section, and it's got metrics like CTR, average CPC, and cost per conversion. All of those are useful, but the thing that you'll probably notice is that this table really isn't. Out of the 8 campaigns that are here, only one of them has any sort of information associated with it, and it's not really much. You can see down here at the bottom that there are 92 campaigns in this account, and a lot of them, quite frankly, have 0 stats in it. So there are a few customizations I want to do here. First, I'm going to choose a couple different metrics to add to the campaign. Then I'm going to sort which campaigns are shown based on those metrics, and then I'm going to filter anything out that doesn't have any performance stats. So let's go ahead and get started by just clicking on the table itself. And now that opens up our handy data section over here to the right. So you can see that this is a chart that has a table style format to it. The first thing I get to do is choose my dimension, which is campaign. I'm going to keep this for the sake of this report, but if you wanted to have something that was broken down by ad group or by keyword or ad type, there's lots of different types of dimensions that you can use. All you need to do is click on this, start scrolling through the different dimensions that are available, and you can find all of the different types of reports that you could make with this different table. So again, I'm just going to keep it as it is. And now I'm going to customize my metrics. This works just the same way as it does for the other ones. Rather than walking you through each of this, I'm just going to choose the handful of metrics that I want this report to have. So now I've added in my 5 metrics: cost per conversion, clicks, impressions, cost, and conversions. The first customization that I want to make is I don't want cost per conversion to be the metric furthest to the left. I want it to be the one furthest to the right. So all I need to do is come here, click and hold on the metric, and then drag it all the way down to the bottom below the other metrics. Easy. Next, I'm going to change the formatting of this table just a little bit because most of these names don't really fit here. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the name of cost per conversion by clicking this pencil here. Just changing it to CPA. I'm going to do the same thing with conversions and impressions. Now most of my metrics fit, and the naming convention fits pretty well. The only one that doesn't is clicks. And I don't really have a better name for clicks. So instead of changing the name, I'm actually just going to change the format of the table by coming over here, hovering over the column, and you can see that these double arrows pointing each way popped up. And then I'm just going to drag it over and resize the columns to make it so everything fits and is a little bit more even, so that we'll actually have enough space for the full name of clicks and the impressions to pop up. Next, I want to narrow down to only the campaigns that have any sort of performance within the time frame that I'm looking at, because all of these 0 impression counts really aren't helping anything. So to do that, I need to come over into the data section off to the right. I need to scroll down until I get to the filter down here at the bottom. You can see there's a table filter. I'm just going to click Add Filter. And now I can create a filter that can be applied to any of the different types of reports within Google Data Studio, but right now I'm only applying it to the one campaign table I'm looking at. First thing I get to do is add a name to it, which is going to be very helpful. Since I want this to be something that has more than one impression, I'm just going to say 1+ impression. Now I need to set up my filter to include only areas that have 1 impression. So the first thing I need to do is select the field. Since I'm trying to filter for impressions, I'm just going to type in impression, select from the drop down here. And now I need to select the condition. And since I want to have everything that only has 1 or more impression, I need to say anything greater than 0. Easy enough. You can create or and statements from this as well, but this is a very simple filter, so that's all I'm going to do. Then I'm going to click Save. Now you'll notice that that top campaigns table is a lot more useful. There are only 30 items listed in it, and the ones that are showing up at the top actually have performance data available. Unfortunately though, it filtered so that the first few campaigns don't have any conversions. So instead, I really do want to do a descending view of the conversion volume in this table. So to do that, I'll stay over here and to the right and just scroll up a little bit. And now you can see that the sort is in here, and right now it is starting off by campaign. It's doing descending, which means that it's going in reverse alphabetical order, which is why it's showing up the way that it is. But I want this report to be sorted by conversions. So I'm going to click where it says campaign. I'm going to choose the field conversion down here, and it's already on descending, so I don't need to change it. But now you can see that it is going from the campaign with the highest number of conversions down to the campaign with the lowest number of conversions that fits within this 8-line table. Overall, a pretty easy section to filter, customize, and get exactly the data that you want prioritized at the top of the table. Now the last section I want to focus on is this device breakdown group over here off to the right. And for this account specifically, the device breakdown isn't actually very useful. Instead, one of the main areas we've been focusing on is trying to add in 2 new countries to target, Australia and New Zealand. And I want this to be kind of a section where we can have a really quick high-level view of what the volume is between those 2 new countries and United States, which is the country that we've had running in the campaigns for the most amount of time. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the naming convention here to say country breakdown, and then I'll leave it as clicks, cost, and conversions. I won't change those metrics. But then I'm going to come over here and click on this clicks pie chart, which you can see up here is a pie chart style. And then by dimension, I'm going to change this to country. And now you can see that the pie chart has changed a bit, and now there is a big section over here that's yellow. If I hover over it, it shows that it is United States with 85% of the clicks, and then we've got New Zealand down here with 3%, and Australia with 11.3%. So to do the same thing for all of these other pieces, all I need to do is come in here and choose the country as the main dimension. And now each of these different charts shows the clicks, cost, and conversions broken down by country level instead of by the device level that was already a part of this. So now you know how to adjust multiple different types of reports within Google Data Studio. The last thing I want to show you is how you can delete a table, move it around, change the formatting, or add a different chart. Overall, this is going to be very quick, very easy. If for whatever reason you wanted to get rid of the conversion chart down here, all you have to do is click on it and hit delete, and it's gone. Same thing with the text field down here for conversions. Just click on it, click delete, and now it's out of there. You could then realign how these 2 charts down here below are in place by just clicking on this. You'll notice that when you're hovering over the pie chart, when you have it selected, you have those 4 arrows, which means you can move it. So if you just click, you can drag it, move it over, make sure that your alignment is right. You can do the same thing with the text field, just by click, drag it, move it over, make sure that it's centered, and let it go. You can also highlight 2 things at once by clicking kind of out of the way, highlighting over them, and then you'll see that both pieces are selected. So then if I just hit the arrow on my keyboard, I can move both pieces over at once. Pretty easy to customize. And if at any point you want to add any type of chart, you can come up here to this Add Chart section. And now, as I showed earlier, as we were going through each of the different types, you can see that there's a table, which is the type that the top campaigns report was, the scorecard, which are going to be these main metrics up at the top, time series are going to be the line charts in the middle, but there are also bar charts, the pie charts, whether it's in the type of donut format that we have down there for the country breakdown, or just a full pie chart like this regular format. You can also then add in maps or geographic charts, as well as line charts, area charts, scatter plot, pivot table, tree map. All sorts of different things are available in here, and all you have to do to add one of them is simply click the box over it. It'll then show up in the middle of the report, so then you can drag it, click to drop. This is terrible formatting, by the way. I'm just trying to show you how it works. And then as you have it still selected, which is kind of tough to see, but it is still selected, you have all the same customization pieces you have off to the right, whether it's dimension, the different breakdowns, you can adjust the metrics, you can sort different things either by a primary or secondary source, and then you have the entire style chart available to you so that you can customize the table to look however you want it to. For now, I'm going to click over and get rid of this because that makes it look a little bit uglier, a little hard to read. So now if we have the report finished and we have it exactly how we want to share it with the client, all we need to do is come up and treat it just like a normal Google document on Google Drive and come up to the share section, click the plus button, and now you can either add individual people to the report itself by adding their names here, or you can click Manage Access and you can change the link sharing so that if you have it on here, anyone with the link can view it, which means that basically all you have to do is share this link with people and then they will be able to see the public-facing version of this Google Data Studio report, but they won't actually be able to edit it, which is probably exactly what you want to have it shared with a client. You don't want them changing the report, changing the formatting, all that sort of thing. So I'm going to close out of this. As you can see, there are tons of different types of custom reports and tables and charts that you can make in Google Data Studio to have all of the different metrics the way that you or your clients need to see them at a moment's notice. As I mentioned at the very beginning, I just used a template that was already created and customized a few different areas for my needs. And there are tons of different templates to choose from. But if you decide over time that you just want to create your own and you know exactly what you want in there, you can start with a blank template and just add the charts and tables exactly how you need them for your own views. Hopefully now you feel like you can go set up your first Data Studio report and know exactly how to get what you need out of it. But if you've got any questions or would like to share any sort of template that you've used and seen success with in the past, we would love to hear about it in the comments. Thanks for watching our video. If you thought it was useful, give us a thumbs up below.
We release a new video at least once a week, so if you want to get notified of when a new one comes out, be sure to subscribe to the Paid Media Pros channel.